Today's video, I'm going to tell you guys why 2022 is the year that you should nurture and embrace your femininity. I'm going to say that word 100 times in this video, probably going to say it wrong at least half the time, so bear with me. I've done one video on femininity on my channel before. It's linked down below. I filmed that last summer, and it was the first time I really talked about it on my channel. I'm not sure how much you guys are familiar with this concept, or at least speaking about it in the way that I'm going to speak about it today. So I just wanted to clear just a few things up before we get started. First of all, this conversation is completely open to anyone. I think femininity is something the whole freaking world needs a little more of right now, which we'll get into in a minute. But this is a very, very open conversation. I'm happy to have you here if you are happy to be here. And if this topic doesn't feel like it's going to serve you in any way, I humbly invite you to go find something that will. Second of all, there are a lot of conversations happening around femininity. I've kind of been, skulking around the internet, observing and listening and watching and reading about this for, it was either 2017, 2018, I think is when I first found this on the internet as kind of a concept to be discussed. And there are several different ones that I've seen. There's conversations around biblical femininity. There's conversations around hypergamy. There's a lot of different ways that people are talking about this and expressing it. So my way of looking at this, I don't know if it's necessarily unique to the world, but it is unique to me, and it serves me and makes me really, really happy. If you guys want to hear about some of the more personal reasons that I have embraced this, again, check the video down below, because today I really want to talk about why I think you should embrace it. So without any further ado, let's get into that. So the first reason I think you should embrace your femininity in 2022 is that the world, all of us in it, are in desperate need of healing, and femininity is very much in line with that. Now, when we think about feminine energy and masculine energy is a lot about producing, achieving, going after, dominating, conquering. It's very analytical. It's very goal-oriented. Oriented? And not that there's anything inherently wrong with that. Every single person is going to need feminine and masculine energy in them. It's just balance at the end of the day. All of things in nature and in the world are at their optimal when they're in balance, right? And femininity and masculinity are no exception. It's just that I think masculinity has been kind of the gold standard of how everyone is expected to behave in order to be deemed successful, which is, as a human being, we all define success differently, but I feel like the preoccupation with a particular type of success is kind of what has put us in this collective state of burnout. Like, this isn't just some hypothesis I'm giving. There's been studies done lately, if I can find any, I'll link them down below, that in this time in history, we are all collectively feeling a little heavy. The energy is a little hard to deal with now. And I think it's because we're continuing to try to operate in our masculine energy, which again is about going and doing, when what we kind of need to be doing right now is focus on healing ourselves, healing our relationships with each other, healing our relationships to our feminine energy, because for such a long time, I truly do think, and dominantly things that are geared more towards the feminine have been kind of looked down on or seen as weak or frivolous or pointless. And I think that our shunning of that and kind of doubling down on this masculinity thing is tantamount to why we are feeling so disconnected from ourselves and from each other, because femininity says, come to me, allow me to be here for you, allow me to nurture you, allow me to care for you. And masculinity, while it's supposed to be creating communities and resources for their tribe or their people, if you will, their builders, you can't just keep building. You have to nurture what you have. And I think that to continue to reject femininity and all that it entails is a really good way that we're going to continue to feel this kind of heavy energy. I mean, literally, we are at a time in history where healing is necessary. To recover from sickness or an illness or a virus requires you to heal, right? And I think that to embrace the femininity, which is so much about nurturing and caring and growing and creation, is so helpful to kind of make the shift that we need to make. So the second reason that I'm going to encourage you guys to embrace your femininity in 2022 is that it feels good, and it kind of causes you and forces you to get into your body and into your feelings. Femininity is about the experience, and I always like to liken this to I don't know, when I was younger, like in my 20s, and I would date a guy, you know, that was also in his 20s, and I'd go to his house or his apartment, and it's just the bare minimum stuff that a human being needs to survive. And once you bring a woman into it, or someone who has an abundance of femininity or who enjoys expressing their femininity, you become like inundated by your senses, because we tend, like, I can speak for myself, I do things like I want there to be soft textures around. I want lighting, you know, to create an ambiance. And one of the other ways that femininity kind of engages our senses is through smell. And I'm a huge fragrance freak, like my body care, my home care. Even my cleaning products, I care about the smell. Home fragrance, like when I got sick a couple of weeks ago, which was by you know what, I lost my sense of smell for like a couple of hours, and I lost it. I was like, what if I can't smell anymore? I can't do it. Like, I love fragrance. And that brings us to today's sponsor, which is Scentbird. Again, femininity and fragrance go hand in hand. It's about engaging those senses, and nothing engages my senses more than fragrance. It's so transportive, so calming, so soothing, so energizing. And if you're like me and you love fragrance, Scentbird is exactly the type of subscription box that you want. This is my fourth or fifth video with Scentbird. I keep working with them because a lot of what I like to talk about on my channel is ways to engage with self-care and beauty in a way that's meaningful for you, and Scentbird is kind of the perfect embodiment of that. First of all, can we talk about the fact that when you are trying to play with fragrance more, trying to enjoy that aspect of your femininity or just being a human being in general, it can be very expensive. And if you're also someone like me who is still kind of learning about fragrance and what fragrances they like, the fragrance world is huge, way bigger than I thought it was even a couple of years ago. So Scentbird has really given me the chance to try out tons and tons of different fragrances, and I'm going to share with you guys which ones I got this month. Every time you get your Scentbird in the mail, it's gonna come with a scent card that tells you what fragrance you have, as well as the notes, which is crucial when you're trying to learn how to buy fragrance, especially when you do it nose blind. Y'all know people be buying fragrance on the internet without smelling it at all. I just can't. I don't have the skills quite there for that. But this month I got 3 really unique fragrances. One of them was a big favorite, and you'll see which one in a minute. So the first one in this beautiful gold packaging, which by the way, you guys, is so easy to use. It just twists open like this. You can pop the perfume vial out very easily and see what your fragrance is, which makes it really great if you tend to collect these, which I probably have about 10, 15 of these little vials laying around. So if I just wanted to have one particular color in my bag at all times, they're very easy to remove and change. But the first one I have here is called Pink Sugar it's from Pink Sugar, and it's called Red Velvet. The notes are strawberry, red fruits, gourmand accord, caramel, and vanilla. This one was not for me. It's a little too sweet for my taste, honestly. I can see where some people might enjoy something like this, but I tend to go for very feminine, floral, fresh kind of fragrances. So this was not my favorite. I'm probably going to give it to my daughter or my niece, but I've seen Pink Sugar as a brand a ton, so it was cool to actually finally get a sniff. The next one is Juice Love Unfiltered. I love this bottle. It's really, really cool. This was also a miss for me. Not for any other reason than it has a note that I'm learning I don't like, which is blonde woods, because it kind of smells like dirt. And I can smell it in men's cologne a lot too. There's like this note that's really earthy, and I can see why some people enjoy it, but I am not one of them. But the notes in this one were red berries, wild freesia, star jasmine petals, blonde woods, and amber. This one is kind of fresh, almost like, I would almost like argue it could be gender neutral, but it's just that undertone, that kind of that wood in it that I don't like as much as I like the next one I'm going to show you, as you will definitely see. Which, side note, the great thing about Scentbird too is that not only do you get to choose between 600 different brands of fragrance when you're shopping, you get this really large amount of fragrance in here. Like, I like to pick up fragrance samples when I can, and those things basically last me until I get to the car. But this one's going to last you a hard month or so, and it gives you plenty of time to live with the fragrance and really decide how you feel about it, and if you want to go in and spend the dough and purchase the big guy. All of these fragrances are 100% authentic, and they work directly with the brands. They have brands like Prada, Gucci, Versace, and a lot of brands I've never heard of that are kind of up and coming in the fragrance world that I'm really interested in. So here I have my favorite, the clear favorite, and that is Gucci Bloom Flora. I don't know if you can tell. This has been living in my bag, and I spray it with reckless abandon all the time. It is so fresh and floral. Like, it smells like gardenia to me, which is one of my favorite smells in the world. And I know Gucci did recently come out with a new Gucci Bloom glowing gardenia. It's in that pink bottle. I want that too. But I'm definitely going to pick up the full size of this one because this has shown me how much I truly love it. Like, I am plowing through this. It is such a beautiful, beautiful smell. Scentbird has a few different options. You can get 1, 2, or 3 of your little vials or whatever a month, and you can start off using my code at $7 a month. You guys, this code is going to get you 55% off your first month at $7 a month. You have literally nothing to lose, and I'll be shocked if you try this service out and don't love it as much as I do, because again, if you love fragrance, this is a dream, I promise. It's the only subscription box. I think there's 2 subscription boxes in the world that I see the benefit in. I'll tell you guys about the other one another time. And this is definitely one of them because, like I said before, trying perfume is expensive. Sometimes you buy it, never use it again. You wasted all that money. This is just a perfume lover's, fragrance lover's dream. It's just a match made in heaven for me. Scentbird is available in the US and Canada. And again, if you guys want to get 55% off your first month of Scentbird, everything you need to know is down below. Thank you again, Scentbird, for partnering with me. You guys know I love working with you. So as far as, once again, the kind of experience of femininity and engaging the senses and the act of feeling, I think that is something that I know personally I have struggled with my whole life. I can think my way into and out of everything. I'm a very analytical person, and sometimes my tendency to do so completely deprives me of the opportunity to truly tap into how I am feeling. And I think I've talked about this in a video before because it's such a huge epiphany for me, and it's probably going to sound really kind of common sense to everyone but me, but for a long time I thought I had a lot of feelings. Like, I almost thought I had too many, if you will. But in fact, what I was confusing with feelings was thoughts. Like, again, I have been a journaler my whole life, and I would just kind of sit and document and examine and try to figure things out. Like, my therapist, one of the things she's had to say to me for the longest time is like, there's just some things you're never going to understand. There's just some things you're never going to know. And that was really difficult for me because it was almost like a protection. This kind of goes back to my first point, where femininity is healing, because for me, a lot of the traits and sides of myself that I have abandoned in my life that tended to be more of the masculine ilk happened because I felt like I had to. It was to protect myself, because I've talked about it before, had a rough upbringing, I had a rough go of it for a while, and it was a survival mechanism. And we can't live happy lives in survival mode anyway, and we can't live our lives through our brains and through analytics and through numbers and through all these hard and fast things, because the human experience as a whole is so nuanced and mostly multifaceted. So for me, being able to really engage the sensation of touch and sound and light and just feeling on a literal and a metaphorical way, and trying to be more present in the moment as a result of access to those things, has really shifted everything for me. So trying to turn off this like analytical must do, go, conquer, goals kind of thing in myself was not something that came easy. It's not even completely gone yet. There's still a huge part of myself that ties my self-worth to my productivity. And I think, again, that's just ultimately kind of toxic. You know, I'm not advocating for being a schlub and doing nothing, but our value as human beings and as women, or as people embodying our femininity, does not have to be tied to that. And the act of getting into your body and feeling things is what's going to put you in tune with not only what actually matters to you, but will get you in a place where you can enjoy the present moment. And that's something, again, that I think that the whole hyper productivity, hyper consumption thing we've been in for so long has kind of conditioned us to stop doing. In fact, I was having a conversation with my daughter about this, where it's like the more time we spend engaged with these screens and these phones and things of that nature, the less time that we're actually connecting with and investing in ourselves. Like, you can only have so many voices and perspectives and thoughts in here. How many of them are your own anymore? And furthermore, how often are you ever sitting with them, like really sitting with uncomfortable feelings? Because a lot of times what we're doing are, like our bad habits are things that get us out of those uncomfortable feelings. A good example of this is like yoga. I love yoga. I've been doing it off and on for years. But for me, as much as there can be a physical challenge to it, the mental challenge is almost the one that I go for, in that if you go to like a yin class or something where you're just doing deep stretches for, sometimes you hold these poses for 3 to 5 minutes, and 3 to 5 minutes of just sitting in a pose and having to breathe and not being able to move and not being able to like do anything but just sit in that uncomfortable position is such a skill that I don't think we have enough of anymore. We're constantly numbing ourselves, running from ourselves, over caffeinating ourselves, eating our feelings, shopping our feelings, venting our feelings, but we don't sit with them. We don't access them. We don't learn from them. We don't hold space for them. And femininity encourages us to hold space for all feelings, whether they're pleasant or not. And femininity, feeling good, the reason I point to that is because like the grinding, the hustling, like all those kind of traditionally masculine things, they might have yielded me results that I wanted in my life. In fact, it would probably be fair to say almost all the really important things I wanted in my life, I got there because of that. But to say I appreciated my results would be an overstatement. If anything, I would reach a goal or a milestone that I wanted and I couldn't even enjoy it, because by the time I got it, I'm already on to the next thing. And I think that, again, femininity forces us, or asks us, humbly asks us, to sit in the present moment with our present feelings, good or bad, sensory or otherwise, and appreciate them for what they are. It asks you to be still. Not something easy for me to do personally, but again, feels good. I think if we would actually start looking within ourselves and asking ourselves what feels good, you'd be shocked how many things you're doing every single day that don't feel good at all. You're just kind of used to feeling like crap. And I always use like true crime and stuff like that as an example. I used to watch it all the time, but it always left me feeling anxious and stressed out. And just because like I was used to being anxious and stressed out, so it's like I was drawn to things that constantly made me feel that way. I would never describe the feeling I had during or after watching it as good. So if all you do at the end of this video in terms of like getting femininity curious is take the day to really observe how you're feeling and sit with those feelings and ask yourself why you feel this way, why you continue to put yourself in situations that leave you feeling this way, I truly believe you might kind of see why I'm so pro this idea. The next reason that I think you should embrace femininity is because in 2022, despite the fact, and this is kind of touching a little bit more on the phone thing again, that we are more connected than ever, technically speaking, I would say there's no real connection happening anymore. If anything, I feel like we're in such a collectively hurt place, no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, no matter what religious position you hold or your gender identity, whatever it is, I just feel like a lot of people are really hurt. And that's because I feel like too much of the masculine me, achieve, conquer stuff must, acquire X amount of dollars and X amount of followers or whatever. It isolates you. It doesn't open room for collaboration if you're constantly in competition with each other for resources and for attention and for money or whatever the case. And I think that, again, that's a defense mechanism. I think it's something people do because the softer, more open, more caring, more nurturing, more welcoming side of themselves got snuffed out when they were younger, or whenever it happened, and they feel vulnerable when they're put in those positions. But the truth of the matter is, we all carry that sense of wanting to belong, and all of us at this point really are actually looking for that connection. We're just going about it in a very synthetic way. And the connection that I am trying to at least cultivate on my platform and on my spaces online are ones of acceptance, ones of compassion, and ones of understanding, not only because, again, it feels good to do it and it feels good to be on the receiving end of it. We all just need a lot more of it. And I know I have hopped on this soapbox so many times, and the people who watch all of my videos are probably sick of me saying it, but it's the best example I can point to, which is that the opposite of femininity is something like a gossip channel, like those those YouTube tea channels, or really any type of activity where you're spent in judgment of other people, or spent laughing at other people's pain, or using other people's real life situations as entertainment, particularly if it's in, if it tends to trend more on the negative. Like, I know, like, for example, Rihanna got pregnant recently and we're all like, yes, and that's fine. I'm not saying like you live in a bubble and don't ever pay attention to other people, and if you do, you're a bad person. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when you're looking at a situation, if you tend to want to pick it apart and find what's wrong with it and then kind of celebrate in people's misfortunes, like, there's nothing feminine in the world about that. And it speaks more to your character and your heart than anything. And again, femininity is about healing, and people who are in happy, self-fulfilling spaces in their lives tend not to want to feel bad. And again, I don't think a lot of people would want to admit this, to be fair, but I noticed it personally when I used to kind of engage in that type of content, that I didn't realize it just made me feel like crap. Like, I didn't walk away feeling lit up and positive and happy and like wanting to hug a tree or like whatever. It didn't feel life-giving in any way. It felt like it took from me in a way. And I think that that speaks a lot to something I talk about all the time, which is out. As without, so within. Whatever you're projecting outwardly via comment sections on YouTube videos, or throwing a hissy fit at Kroger because the cashier gave you the wrong almond milk, or whatever the heck, it's not a reflection of the situation. It's a reflection of how you feel about yourself in that situation. And a lot of us tend to take things very personal as a result, because we're not conscious of the fact that what we're seeing, again, is a collective of people who are subconsciously or consciously or otherwise hurting. And I just think that to embrace femininity, and you can call it whatever you want, you know what I mean? This is just a school of thought or a spiritual kind of way of looking at this that really resonates with me, and I have found so much purpose and meaning in it. But if we could embrace a little bit more of this energy, everyone could, just a little bit, then I think that the benefits we would see for ourselves and then as a result collectively would be abundant. I don't think the solution is more people only out for themselves trying to conquer each other. I think we've been doing that enough. I think the solution now is like, we got to heal, we got to feel good, we got to grow together and come together more. And I know this sounds really like kumbaya or whatever, but I don't care. It is what it is. So the last reason I'm going to tell you to embrace your femininity in 2022 is that it gives you permission to really double down on and enjoy things that maybe in your past were kind of treated as frivolous or silly, because I do think that many things that are considered traditionally feminine also automatically become like frivolous and silly. And again, going back to what I said before about the experience that a woman or someone in their femininity brings to any environment that they're in, it can't really be quantified. I mean, I guess technically it could. You can hire an interior decorator, you can hire a party planner or whatever, and there's actually a monetary value put on it in that respect. But when it comes to like how you bring these energies into your personal life, people tend to think that it doesn't mean anything if it's not making money, right? And I just think that that's terrible. It's a horrible way to look at something that's so, I don't even know, like for me, creating things is empowering. Like I enjoy the act of creation so much. It's something that women and people in their feminine tend to enjoy in general. And as women, our bodies just naturally create on their own. It's awesome. But as a whole, I feel like as long as we continue to look down on things or feel like they're not as important because they're traditionally feminine, I think we're really closing ourselves off to things that give us joy and do cause us to be in the moment and feel our feelings. Like, for example, not that cooking is necessarily traditionally feminine, but I know a lot of women, and I've met a lot of girls in my life who have refused to cook because they think it is feminine and makes them weak. And first of all, girl, we all got to eat. I don't know what to tell you. But it causes you to be present in a moment to cook. Like the act of having to cut things and smell things and taste things, like it brings you into the moment. Same things with like self-care. Self-care is an extremely feminine practice. In fact, if no other thing can convince you to come over to the femininity side of things, it's kind of like, I don't want to say permission, but yeah, an abundance of permission to take care of yourself, because that which we pour into ourselves, again, comes out into those that we love. And the more you care for, love, and nurture yourself, the more you have to give to other people in your life. You know, I've said before on my channel that being a woman is hard enough, and it is, but I think part of it is that we kind of make it hard on ourselves in some ways. We feel the need to be so many things, and really all we need to be is happy and content and abundant and caring, and that is enough. You know, a lot of times, like, you hear all these stories of women who feel like they have to have it all, or that, you know, one thing that comes to mind, I was talking on a podcast with my friend one time, and I was getting ready to fix my lips to say, well, men don't do that. And in the context of the conversation, what I was saying is, men don't do this, so it's the better way of doing it. And that's kind of when this light turned on for me. Why do I keep assigning the more valuable, productive, better thing to whatever a man does? I'm not trying to say it's not necessarily valueless because a man does it, but I don't want to be a man. I don't have what it takes. I've tried to be one kind of my whole life, like be a tough girl, and I'm not. And if I was, I never felt good when I had to be. Quite frankly, it was always a defense mechanism. It wasn't coming from a place of love or happiness or joy in any way. And I think that's truly our life's work, is to heal our wounds and stop hurting other people with them. It's like being sick, but giving the symptoms to everybody else. So kind of having, like, again, I don't want to use the word permission, but sure, we'll say permission. The permission to indulge in that which most people can or will try to convince you is frivolous is very freeing and liberating and juicy and awesome. And it's the crux of the whole high maintenance series that I've done, and I've been trying to illuminate for you guys for a little over a year now, about how empowering and beautiful that can be. Femininity and the high maintenance mindset are kind of like peanut butter and jelly as far as I'm concerned. They go hand in hand. I'll tell you guys about a book that I recently found, like literally as I was getting ready to film this video, I found this book and I've been listening to it. It's called You Are a Goddess by Sophie Bashford. I found it on Audible. I don't want to get too far into it, but because I'm still relatively new to the book, but I am vibing with this so hard. It is exactly how I feel about femininity. I tend to liken it to divine goddess vibes. I'm very in that. So if this or anything similar to this resonates with you, you would probably really enjoy this audiobook. I'm sure you can find a physical copy somewhere else. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. As always, thank you to the patrons. I am coming back very soon to the book club on Patreon. I think we're going to pick it back up this month, and I'm going to have a poll over there for some options to choose from, and may very well put this one on the table, and I hope everybody wants to read this because I'm already doing it and I already enjoy it. So I get to get out of here. I'm actually doing a live stream with Jen from Embody. By the time you see this, it will have already happened. We're doing it kind of like as a birthday celebration. Happy Aquarius season, and I will catch you guys in the next one.